Hello, welcome to OCT Clinical's Industry Voice and our special issue featuring pharma. This company is responsible for launching a phase 3 COVID-19 vaccine trial in Russia. Please meet Nikolai Dodonov, the medical director at Petrovax Pharm. And Nikolai, thank you very much for having us at your office.
Thank you for coming. Nice to meet you here in our office.
So today I would like to talk to you about your COVID-19 vaccine trial. So how is it organized considering all the implications and restrictions implied by the pandemic?
This is the project that we perform in cooperation with CanSino Biologics. We have started our cooperation this year in the development, clinical research, and further manufacturing of the vaccine. It is organized according to the GCP rules, taking into account all the restrictions that we have here in our country. We perform vaccination of the volunteers in terms of phase 3 clinical trial, and all the procedures are regarding the protocol, and the protocol was approved by the Ministry of Health in Russia, and all the procedures are in strict line with the GCP requirements and ethics provisions of Helsinki Declaration.
In your opinion, what would you say is the main difference between vaccine trials and other studies?
Thank you for this question. It is a very good one. I would say that taking into account clinical trials that are performed in volunteers, which is the one for the vaccine, and clinical trials which are performed in patients are different. First of all, there is, let's say, a huge number of potential participants in the vaccine trial, and you can enroll a lot of them, but still there are restrictions regarding inclusion and exclusion criteria that we have to follow during screening procedure, and unfortunately we can't include all those who want to participate in our clinical trial. That's the main difference between therapeutic clinical trials when you include patients into this trial, and this one, the trial of the vaccine, when you include volunteers.
So since you already started talking about patient enrollment, how's it going?
For now we have included more than a half of the estimated number of volunteers. The exact number is more than 400 for now, and we are going to finish it soon. It is going well enough. As I said, we invite volunteers to our clinical trial. We have more than 10,000 of potential volunteers who we are willing to participate in this clinical trial. And as I said, not all of them could participate due to the restrictions that we have. And there are still that number that we have to exclude from screening procedure, and they are not applicable for the study.
You have been selecting sites in various cities across Russia. What is the main criteria for selection?
We have selected several sites. There is enough quantity for the execution of this clinical trial. The most important thing before the start of the trial is to choose the qualified vendors. So not only clinical trials sites that are invited into this clinical trial, but the vendor, the clinical research organization, which is doing the whole job, is the most important thing to choose. And in this regard, we have good relationship, and future cooperation was not a question for Petrovax. Regarding the clinical sites, we have also performed several clinical trials in vaccines against flu, and we have the experience of our clinical trials in the past, and from that point of view we perform qualification visits to the sites which will potentially be included into this clinical trial of the COVID-19 vaccine, and we have chosen those who deliver the highest quality in sufficient duration of time.
What is the duration of a volunteer's participation in the trial, and are they being followed up after the vaccination?
The duration of participation of each volunteer starts from screening procedure, which can be up to 10 days before the vaccination itself. After vaccination, volunteers are observed very frequently during the first week. Afterwards, they are assessed at day 14, then at day 28, when the immunological response is measured, and afterwards they are observed after half a year of their vaccination.
Are there any restrictions for vaccination? Is it maybe dangerous for people with underlying or chronic diseases?
Regarding restrictions, there are some, definitely. We have the range of age from 18 to 85, which I think is very good for the volunteers, especially those who are elder than 65. So we have some volunteers already enrolled in this age. They have to have no antibodies against COVID at the screening procedure. They should confirm that they were not infected with COVID, and this neighborhood which they contacted also wasn't infected with COVID-19. And so these are the restrictions, the main restrictions that we now see, and we have a rather big number of volunteers who didn't participate due to their previous immunity against COVID, which can be due to their previous contamination or illness. There are some cases where they have antibodies, but they don't remember they were sick. And also we can't include those volunteers whose conditions is serious enough in the regard of investigator to be included into this clinical trial.
Nikolai, thank you. That was very interesting statistics. Now I would like to talk about the regulator side of it. Do you think there are any new simplified procedures for obtaining local trial approval or marketing authorization or any other standard procedures?
Yes, there are. There are simplified procedures for marketing authorization. We see now registered vaccines against COVID-19 that are developed here in Russia by Russian manufacturing facilities. In our case, we see not simplified but expedited procedure of approval of clinical trial. Though we passed all the steps needed for regulatory approval and the ethics committee approval, we received it quite in short duration of time. I think that our ministry really did a lot to simplify the procedures to make it more short in duration of time.
And where does the information on side effects and adverse events go, and is it available for public use?
The information about adverse events that occur during this clinical trial is collected in the electronic database, which is closed until the moment of statistical analysis. From our side, we track clinical trial side effects that are serious and unexpected. Let's say that they are life-threatening for the volunteers, and in this regard we disclose the group of treatment of volunteers, but for now we didn't have any in our clinical trial. All the side effects will be assessed at the end of the clinical trial. They will be included into the clinical trial report, and they will be submitted to the Ministry of Health on a yearly basis in safety periodic reports.
So Nikolai, when can we expect the vaccine to be available for public use?
It depends on the clinical trial results on the one hand. On the other hand, it depends on the registration of this vaccine in our country. Both should align into one procedure. I expect it will be very soon.
What has been the most difficult part in launching the phase 3 vaccine trial?
The most difficult part was coordination of the whole team, which is really huge. We have participation of team of Petrovax, of the whole team of medical department. We have our foreign partners in CanSino in China. We also have partner of OCT, and the team of OCT very engaged in this process. And as an example, the laboratory coordination, since we collect a lot of data from laboratory part, this was the most challenging one, to organize all the laboratory procedures, the laboratory manual, to teach investigational teams to do all the job for laboratory collecting of data as it is written. This was the most challenging, in my opinion.
Nikolai, so that would be all for today. Thank you very much for having us, and we would like to wish you success with the marketing authorization and with your current and future clinical trials. Thank you very much.
Diana, thank you for your interesting questions and for conversation. And I would like to thank also the OCT team, which is doing this clinical trial. I would like to say that this is the challenging trial for all of us, and we are doing our best to deliver the results as soon as possible, to register the vaccine as soon as possible, and to supply enough quantity to vaccinate those who are in need of vaccination for today.
Thank you very much.